Hi, everyone. It's Tran Bowie. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very first Ask the Experts panel. I'm so thrilled to have this segment and so thrilled to introduce you to our panel of pros, what I call them. So thank you all for joining us. And before we start the questions, I would like to introduce our guests. So first we have Joe Avini, Insurance Guy Joe, and that's how you can find him. He knows everything about health coverage, health insurance, any kind of questions you have, and he just makes himself available to his clients. Next, we have Mark Collini. He is a CPA, senior consultant at M&M Accounting and Business Services. He can talk about business health, and this was something that I didn't know about, so Mark is going to explain that a little bit, and then taxes, among other things. We all love to talk taxes, right? No, probably not, but we're going to get all that. I know. We can get all your questions answered today. John McMillan, he is a financial representative at Country Financial. John can cover a wide range of insurance and financial products and services. So we have everything from auto, home, disability, income, farm, and fixed annuities. So John, we have so many questions for you. I'm actually interested about the stock market, so I'm going to ask you about that. And then Dr. Juliana Sperana, because it looks like, yes, look, lasagna. She is the co-owner and co-founder of Reach Chiropractic. And so she specializes in neurologically based chiropractic care for pediatrics, prenatal, and really the entire family. And so Dr. Juliana, I'm super interested about how you can help us with pain and tingling, all these things that I think a lot of us started dealing with because of the pandemic, working at home, being in school at home, but also getting out and being more active. So we have a lot to cover. We want to tell our viewers that we are taking questions. So if you will post it below, we will pull up your questions. We're going to have everything answered for you because I know that you have a lot of questions. And I'm going to start first. So Joe, with you, I know, calling on you first. So the top tip for people who are looking for health coverage, because it can be a little overwhelming, and a lot of times if you're with a company, you kind of just go with the coverage that your company is offering you. So what would you say to that?
Well, I'm actually guilty of that in the past. I made the same mistake, and that's quite common. And oftentimes we go not just with the maybe the company gives you a couple of different selections, and we tend to go with the least expensive. I urge you to find somebody, even if it's at the company or expert in HR or another insurance professional, and just have them dissect the plan. Okay, because when it comes to health coverage, you get what you pay for.
Yep.
And you want to know what you're paying for. Is it going to be there for the needs for you and your family? Okay, so don't look at the price or the premium as an indicator. Look at the value of the plan. And if you can't, a lot of people they don't want to read through the details to understand what's in the plan. So get with an expert, have them look at it. They can tell you what's in the plan, so you know exactly what you're paying for.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't know until you need to have it. So it is good to talk to someone and not just accept whatever is given to you. So as we talk about healthcare, Dr. Juliana, I will admit I was guilty of, I'm in the kitchen now, working at my laptop in the kitchen, and then I started dealing with pain and tingling. And I know that like the kids are at their computer and they're sitting like this. So because of the pandemic, did you start to see that more people start coming in with more pain and tingling and aches?
Absolutely. So yeah, and so it was funny because we've had people that have been under care with us for 2 years, but all of a sudden they also started coming in with new aches and pains. It was the new neck pain because teachers all of a sudden are having to teach at home and they're sitting on the computer like this. Kids now are sitting 6, sometimes 8 hours a day on the computer, and then they're also playing video games. They're on their phones, but also another thing, it's not just the physical aspect of it, but the emotional aspect, because emotional aspect also has, actually, they say that it accounts for 80% of all of our health conditions. So the emotional aspect of us having to do with the pandemic is also bringing up all these new aches and pains that we never thought of before. So that's definitely something we're dealing with and, taking care of at this moment.
Well, and I think that more people actually I saw more people getting outside and trying these things. So you probably have people out there who are like, oh, let me go stand up boarding for the first time or go rock climbing for the first time. So you probably had people coming in with new injuries.
It was really exciting. And that's something, we're always telling people to go outside, move, because a body in motion stays in motion. So that was really exciting because a lot of people did take up new hobbies. Granted, a lot of them got hurt from their new hobbies, but that's still what we want. Our goal is to be able to support them in their new habits and their new goals and their, new ventures, and for us to be able to be here to support them and support their bodies and their nervous system and be able to do that.
Yes. And yes. Don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't not do it. Because,
right.
So Mark, oh my goodness. We received a tax extension because of the pandemic. I don't know if it really helped me because I found that I still waited until the last minute. But because of the pandemic, talk to us about what we should be aware of around expenses and tax deductions, especially now.
Well, right now, business tax deductions is something we focus on a lot. This has been a very strange tax season. Part of the business taxes were extended, and some of them were not, which created a lot of confusion. If you had a partnership type return, it was not extended. It was March 15th, and a lot of folks did not realize that. So they have issues now because they weren't able to, they thought, the way the news came out, taxes were extended to July 15th. Everybody went, yay.
Right.
It wasn't true. So then when everybody found out and they didn't have to get prepared for April 15th, they waited.
Yeah.
Off to July 15th. Yeah, raise your hand there, Tran.
Yeah, right.
So then everyone's decided we better start getting this done. Now, there have been a lot of tax law changes as far as what is a tax deduction and what is not, based upon the formation of your company, what kind of company you are. And, we had a 2018 tax change. And business taxes, like if you work for a company, you can no longer expense personally any expenses from there. But you can, if you change the formation of your personal company, you can start taking deductions such as healthcare, Joe. How about that? Wonderful. Companies can provide healthcare, and you can form your own company. And if you have one, you can change the formation and start taking advantage of these deductions, home office deductions. See, you're in the kitchen right there, Tran. That could be your home office.
Yes.
You can deduct that possibly, depending on how you set up your business. So everyone really needs to speak to their tax practitioner and more so their business consultant to determine what is or what is not tax deductible in this environment today.
I know I could talk to you forever about my home office and different expenses and stuff because I was told like I could measure around the rooms that I use and write off all these other things. But that might be another conversation with you, Mark. So John, can we talk about the stock market? So I thought that the last I looked, Dow was down, NASDAQ and S&P up. Which makes a lot of sense because you're seeing like Amazon is up, probably a lot of Fortune 500 companies are probably seeing some decreases and stuff. Okay, what should we be doing? What's happening in the stock market and what should we be doing?
Your guess is as good as mine. Anyone who thinks, we are always taught in the financial side of things that we have information, they call that information efficiency, where whatever the public knows is reflected in the price of stocks immediately. And so based on current information, everything is exactly where it should be, according to this theory. And so anyone who thinks they can outguess it, well, I don't know. I can't. I truly can't. I stick by the tried and true is be well diversified. There's also something called diversification over time, where if you're investing, you don't put large amounts of money in at one time. You put a little bit at a time every single month. They call that dollar cost averaging. And the whole idea behind that is you may one month buy something that's really on sale. Maybe another month you're overpaying a little bit, but over the course of 12 months of putting your money in a little bit at a time, you're going to reduce a lot of that variability. But as far as what the future holds, I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't be doing this right now.
Right.
But the little guy does not have all the information, but the little guy needs to stick with the fundamentals, which is be well diversified and just keep putting money in. One thing I do know, and I'm very confident about, is 10 years from now, the markets will be worth more than they are right now. And it doesn't really matter who's president or what's going on. When you invest in the market, you're investing in the expertise of people who are running businesses. And the reason they're running these large businesses is because they know more about what they're doing than you do. And so most people, when they invest in their own business, half the time they fail within a year. So you're investing with people who are experienced at running successful businesses. And if you're putting it in a lot of different businesses, you should be fine over the long haul. But as far as outguessing things on the short term, I don't know how to do that.
Okay. Well, and I think just talking to an expert does help. Just right now, don't panic is what we're hearing. So we do have some questions. So I'm just going to run through them. So Michelle is asking, working from home, what are some good stretching exercises? I think that's for you, Dr. Juliana.
Yes, what a great question. So there are actually quite a lot of things that you can do at home. There's a classic, you just want to let your neck roll a few times and kind of rotate. But the most important thing that we always say, make sure that your computer is always at eye level. Yes. And that's where most people go wrong, because you could do all the stretches in the world, but then if you go right back into looking down on your computer, you just continue to put that stress on your neck. So I would every 20 to 30 minutes, kind of let your neck roll and back and forth. That is one that I would start with. And then there's some that you could build up on. And I don't want to spend too much time on that here, but if you reach out to me on our page, I would love to give you some more in-depth ones. But the main thing is keeping your neck at eye level to prevent any injury and prevent that tension to begin with.
Okay. Yes, because it started getting into my neck.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim Cooper is asking, yes, get an expert for insurance. I just had to switch. I'm trying to figure out the best one for you is difficult to do. Yes, Joe. That's why your clients come to you. You are available. You are invested in them. So that does make a difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a piece of advice that I had to learn the hard way. But that's why I make myself available, because I understand we have different schedules nowadays. That 9 to 5 work thing, really kind of old school. With virtual, people work in all times during the day. Some people, they work internationally, so their hours are different. And then there are people that just, they have shift schedules. Sometimes they're not available. I make myself available when I'm doing it.
And then Michelle is asking, what is advice for money saving tips?
Oh,
I think you're up.
yeah. The first thing I've always learned from a very early point in my life is pay yourself first. I'll say to somebody, if you suddenly found out that you were with child, that you were going to have a baby and you couldn't afford it, you'd find a way to afford it. You find a way. And I always tell people when we're planning and they think they don't have enough money to invest, I'll say, well, what if you suddenly found yourself with a child to support? Would you find a way to do it? And they'll say, yeah, I will. Well, you do have someone who's dependent on you. It's the older version of you. And you got to treat the older version of you as one of your current dependents. And you've got to put aside money for that. You got to find a way. And so what I always tell people is figure that out, pay yourself first, put it aside, then live on the rest, and you'll figure it out. It may mean that you go to the fast food restaurant a few times less per month and little things like that, but you'll find you can do it, but you have to have the discipline to pay yourself first.
Yes. And then along with that, should I change my retirement plan during this time?
Not necessarily. That's one of those things where you keep putting, as far as your retirement plan, my strong suggestion is max out what you're able to contribute to your 401k. Max out, especially if your employer is matching you. They might match you a dollar per dollar or 50 cents on the dollar, but you can't earn that anywhere if they're matching you. Where can you go get 100% immediately or 50% immediately on your money? So max that out and then figure out how to live on the rest. But whatever you can do in your 401k, as much as you can, do it.
Yeah, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. We don't think about that. So Mark, can you talk about small businesses? I have a lot of friends, and I've heard from a lot of people who have small businesses. And during this pandemic, they're really struggling, and some of them have to still pay the rent and utilities and everything, and they're not functioning in their buildings anymore. What is some good advice for small business owners at this time?
Well, the first thing I would suggest to any small business during this crisis is seek wise counsel. Make sure that they speak to professionals who do know what they're doing, who can assist them. For example, the government had CARE Act came down, and there were loans and grants and things available. Sometimes individuals attempted to do that themselves and failed. Whereas if they had reached out to a professional who could have assisted them, they may have gotten that, those grants or whatever to help them tide through. But going back to what John was just saying, the first thing that during a tough time, when things tighten up, the first question should be, before you spend any money, is this necessary? Is it a need, a want, or just a great idea? I mean, some businesses have gone out of business because they try every great idea that comes along. And, is it truly need? Do I need this to keep my business going, or is it a good idea? We need to focus on a few things and seek wise counsel. Seek a business advisor, CPA that is, understands business and business health. So that's the first thing is seek wise counsel. There's people out there who you don't have to do this by yourself. There's folks that'll help you.
Right, and it's not the same as Googling this information.
If I may piggyback on what Mark just said, just from my own experience, is when I was trying to market my business, I would try this and then try that and try this and try that. And I'd spend a lot of money and not get a lot of return on my investment. But when I found out that if I stuck with one idea and implemented it and had a plan for implementing it and stuck with it, I found I got a good return on my investment. But too many people just start throwing money out, hoping for just a miracle that saves them, when diligence and perseverance is what's going to do the trick. So it's just pick something and have a plan and work it.
Okay. Well, and speaking of that, mistakes, Joe, what is the big mistake that people make when it comes to health insurance coverage that you've seen, and what can we do to change that?
Well, I think this goes back to your original question. Sometimes the biggest mistake is we just go with what the first option that's presented to us without necessarily doing any research. And is that the option for our needs? Is that, does it have the doctor in network that we want to see? Does it have the benefits based on our health conditions, right? Whether it be co-pays or not having co-pays, does it thank you for what you do? If you're a truck driver that drives across 3 or 4 states twice a week, and you only have an HMO that covers you in your zip code, is that really the best coverage for you, right? If something happens away from home, you're not covered. So it just comes back to that first one. Don't just go with the first and easy one, okay, or even the least expensive one. It doesn't mean the most expensive is the best option. It just means talk to an expert. Get somebody to look at that can ask you the right questions to find out what is it you're looking for out of the coverage. What do you want the coverage to do for you? And then they can help you identify the best options.
So Diana, your lovely wife, is saying that people assume they have to wait for open enrollment.
Well, that's not correct. Now,
What?
is for ACA plans, okay, Affordable Care Act plans. So those, they have an open enrollment period, and that's November 1 through December 15. Or there's a qualifying event, okay? So if you lose coverage, due because of a lost job or cut back in hours at your work, that creates a qualifying event. So marketplace plans can be available at that time. But a lot of people don't realize in the last handful of years, private insurance companies have been just booming. okay? And they're available any day of the year that ends in Y, okay? So you don't need an open enrollment for a private plan. Private plans oftentimes have a lot of covered options in the marketplace. It's just that people don't realize they're out there.
And Dr. Juliana, when it comes, we talked about the different things that you do to help people. So who needs to go see a chiropractor? You cover everybody from like little to the elderly, everything. So who needs to go?
So, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, but everybody. So we don't live the same way that we were created to live. We were created to be outside, hunting, gathering, breathing fresh oxygen, eating fresh food. We no longer live in that world anymore that we were designed to live in. So we, obviously we usually stay indoors. Now we're indoors more than ever, sitting like this. Children are also staying indoors. A lot of them are not getting to get, walk as much as they used to, get as much as exercise. So we focus on the neurology of the body, which controls everything in the body. So the nervous system controls our breathing, our eating, our digestion, our muscles. So everybody can benefit from chiropractic care. And in our office, we actually have special certifications for pregnant moms, for babies. And so we actually support them while they're pregnant, and then we actually adjust them when they're babies, when they're only a few hours old, because sometimes the birthing process can be traumatic. So we actually support them in that, and then we usually take care of them up until they're adults. And so we like to say that healthy children lead into healthy adults, and it's better to fix, a broken baby than fix a broken adult when it's been there for a longer time. So I would say everybody could benefit from chiropractic care, and it's never too late either.
And there's no time frame either, because I think sometimes we think like, okay, I'm fixed, I'm good, I don't need to go see anyone.
And that's what we say all the time, is that we don't live in the world that we're designed to live. If we, we're outside all the time and we're just like relaxing and living by the beach, eating, drinking and eating fresh coconut, it'd be one thing, but we live in a very different world. We don't eat the same foods that we should be eating. So things are very different. So we should be under chiropractic care to eliminate all the trauma and all the different things, and allow our nervous system to fully function at 100%.
Yes, and we don't even realize what we're doing to ourselves. Diana is saying, yes, people shouldn't wait until they have a problem to begin with chiropractic care. And that's exactly what most of us do, myself included, guilty. So, John, with virtual school, we are seeing a lot of parents are now even taking their children out of public school, putting them into private school, hiring extra childcare, spending a lot more money during this pandemic. So what advice would you have for parents when it comes to long-term for their children's education?
Well, one of the things that's interesting about education is it has gone up a lot faster than the cost of the rate of inflation. It's interesting, and we're seeing that. And it'll be interesting to see the future of what happens, especially in higher education. Is the best value to get at one of the more expensive schools, or can you get just as good of a value at maybe something local where you're not spending? I got 2 kids through college. The most expensive part of it for me was actually the room and board part, putting them up in an apartment, things of that nature. So just don't discount what you have locally would be one of the things I would suggest. Too many people go into incredible amounts of debt going to some school and sending the kids off somewhere else when they could probably get just as better value locally. So if you are on that tight financial schedule, look local. That would be my first suggestion. Don't get yourself in hock over this, especially when you're looking at some of the degrees that don't have an immediate return. So that's an individual thing, but I just say look local and you might get a better value.
Okay, and then let's talk about some of the changes. Should we be contributing more or less for our flexible spending account and health savings account? I think people are just like trying to figure out, like, do I need to shuffle things around? Do I need to move things, or do I just hold on to my savings?
I'm just a big believer that it's not so much what you're investing in, but the habit of investing. too many people overthink this, and while they're overthinking it, they don't put away anything, or put away very little, and then they end up in the circle where they're whatever I have at the end of the month, I'll go ahead and invest. Well, they end up finding out they got nothing left at the end of the month because they did it backwards. Years ago, one of my most interesting clients was a guy, he had no sophistication whatsoever. He drove a bread truck his whole life. And I started talking to him about his finances. I didn't really expect much out of this guy. Very simple fella. So was his wife. They lived in a very modest home. Next thing you know, he's bringing up big cardboard boxes full of double E savings bonds, which hardly earning anything. But when we all got through it, he had about $250,000 worth of savings bonds. And he was a real simple-minded guy. He just said, like, "Go, Johnny, all I figured is at the end of the week, I'd take my paycheck and buy a bond that one day I'd redeem for groceries." That was his mindset. Well, we ended up slowly moving that money over the course of 2 years into other investments, which he did much better at. But I was more impressed with his thrift habits than his sophistication in what he invested in. That's the most foremost thing. Just put it away, and then we'll get to how you do it. But if you're not willing to put the right amount of money away, you're never going to get very far anyway.
Right. I think we get into the habit of spending what we bring in. So, Mark, can you move back to taxes? And this is an unusual year. So what can we do to have a better tax year in 2021 than we had this year?
Speak to your tax accountant now. If you have, especially if you're own a small business, you really need to speak to him because things have changed in tax law. And you can take advantage of tax savings and tax liabilities, again, by changing the way you pay yourself. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues is how do you get paid? You own your company, but how do you get paid? You know, what you don't know can hurt you.
Yes.
And so it's very wise to speak to someone right now to plan because we're running out of time for this year. You know, there are certain things that are on time frames and you must get the documents into the IRS and whatever quickly. Now, you're a little more forgiving because of COVID, but you can't plan for 2020 when you're in 2020.
Right. Yes.
I mean, unless you're in 2020. February 2020 is over.
Yes. And I think go back to that procrastinating or someone else is going to take care of it. So I'd like to wrap up by asking each of you, either during this pandemic, did you see something interesting or something different that you didn't see before, whether personally or in business, that would help us? And maybe even like how your business has changed because of this for the better. So Mark, can we start with you?
Sure. You know, we were kind of fortunate in a way as a firm, CPA firm. There's 3 CPAs and 3 bookkeepers right now. And we were tailor-made for this stay-at-home type work, 6 different locations. So we don't have a brick and mortar business. So we were able to and have set up secure vaults for communication. And we're set up for that, I guess, the new normal, because that's the way it is. We didn't have to meet clients face-to-face. We would do the phone or we would do a Zoom. So we've learned to adjust. And I think in this, you know, new normal, everyone is learning how to adjust to this. You know, how do you deal with your clients? How do you market? How do you get out there? So I think, you know, the new norm is this right here, and we're very fortunate that we were prepared for it. So.
Yes, and that's great because not everyone is. What about you, Joe?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, one of the side effects of this pandemic has been people being furloughed or laid off. And I've seen a lot of people that, you know, and of course, right now is not the time to go without health coverage. So I see helped a lot of people that are going through their own COBRA. And if you're not working, COBRA can be a very expensive option. And a lot of people, they're not necessarily, they don't have the resources to continue to pay a high premium. You know, many people they're still living month to month. So, I help a lot of people find those more affordable health coverage solutions so they still have the coverage they need, if not better in some cases, and they're paying less than the COBRA option.
What about Dr. Juliana?
I actually really enjoyed this quarantine time because I think that everybody was able to finally slow down, whether you're an extrovert like me or not. And I think that my advice, I think, to most people is the best doctor is the one inside of you, And I think it was really cool to see that the moment everybody got shut down, a lot of people went outside a lot more and started moving because they started listening to their body and the need to be outdoors, getting vitamin D, breathing fresh oxygen. And that's kind of what my takeaway during the season is to tune in a lot more, turn off a lot more sometimes the noise and listen to within because it's telling you everything that you need to know.
Wow. No. Amen. Spirulina, right?
Spirana.
Okay. So John, wrap it up for us. Especially when it comes to our finances, everyone's situation is so different. What advice would you have, and what did you see that we need to be paying attention to? Something important that we need that we may not have known about.
I'm gonna step out of my role that you have me in.
Okay.
I've lost 20 pounds since this thing happened.
Wow.
So
I think I picked it up.
I can get up, show you the before and after of my gut, but I think it was Voltaire, or it might have been Joe Bob Johnson, who once said that a man will spend his health making wealth, and then in the end he ends up spending his wealth trying to get his health back. What I did, first of all, there was no sports on TV, so I can't watch sports. I guess we're finally starting to have some things come back. I was bored out of my gourd, and people weren't calling like they were, and I feed off people, so I started exercise. I also started building things, household projects. I know places like Home Depot have actually made more money because of boredom is set in. But I do, just to step off of the financial thing, I'll say the same thing, just keep saving. But the other thing is take care of yourself. We all need to do a better job of taking care of yourself. I was surprised at how many people said they gained weight during this, and I did the opposite because I was going nuts not being able to do anything. So I finally started walking and doing some other things and riding my bike and also concentrated on not eating crap. That's what that's actually, in all things give thanks, the Bible tells us. And that's kind of one of those things you got to find something to give thanks about. And for me, maybe I've realized I need to spend more time on me instead of looking at the TV, watching a sport or something like that. Just take care of yourself. On the financial stuff, keep putting money away, but you might end up spending.
Oh no! This piece of advice, I need to hear it. John, come back.
That was a cliffhanger.
Oh no! Okay, John may have to. Okay, he's not coming back. You're leaving me hanging here. So he's saying, take care of yourself.
Oh, hey, I'm back. I don't know what happened.
Last piece of advice.
Yeah. But anyway, I guess I'm done. I walked there for a while. I don't know what happened.
Well, what was your last statement? It's kind of like watching a football game and then the power goes out.
Where was I? I was talking so long. All I'm saying is just I was about to say something about long-term care insurance, which we do, but long-term care insurance, about half the people will have a long-term care event when they're in the retirement years. And I think one of the most important things is do everything you can to avoid that. Yeah, buy your long-term care insurance or something that will provide that. But take care of yourself. And Dr. Juliana Speragna will echo that big time. Take care of yourself. So when you do go out, you go out in a blaze of glory and not some decrepit person that's just barely hanging on.
Well, that was worth the technical difficulty and the wait for that. Thank you all so much. I learned so much, but more than anything, it gives me renewed hope, especially during this pandemic, that we're all going to be okay. Especially if we take care of ourselves. And I do feel like we're in this together, giving each other motivation and hope. So thank you all. Have a great week, and we do appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for watching.